Welcome. Today we're going to be taking apart this Lenovo Flex 4. This particular model is the -1480, and we will be using a small Phillips head bit. This is a 2.5. So we're going to flip it over and then remove the screws of the bottom case. Alright, once we have the screws out, our next task is going to be to separate the palm rest from the bottom case, which you do along there's a kind of a seam between the palm rest and the bottom case, and you get a flat tool in there and just go around and pop out the little snaps. So it can be a little bit tricky, especially with the back part, but you'll definitely notice where the two parts separate, and they have little catches all the way around. So just work along, and it helps to put a little bit of pressure, like upward pressure, while you're releasing the snaps, and then as you go along you'll be able to open it up wider and wider. And then since the back part is curved over the rest of the laptop, you're going to lift up the front part and move it backwards to clear the little hinge mounts and stuff. And then after you've gone around and removed the little snaps, it will allow you to remove the bottom case. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, as usual, is disconnect the battery. And on this model, it's just a regular pull-out connector. So sometimes it can be easier just to go ahead and remove the screws for the battery and save the disconnect for last. Some of the connectors can be pretty well held in there, so we're just gonna kind of give it a wiggle to get it started, and then use our fingernails to help pull that connector out. Alright, so we will go ahead and also remove the hard drive caddy with the SATA hard drive in it. So it looks like just a few screws, and then we're going to move the hard drive caddy down to release the hard drive SATA connector right here. And then it's just two screws on either side to replace that hard drive. Go ahead and remove this Wi-Fi card. So it's just held down by one screw, and both of the antennas will just come straight off. Just lift them up and off. Alright, now we can go ahead and remove the fan. And it looks like there's it's like the video cable is being threaded through the fan, so we'll go ahead and release that right now as well. And it's got a handy little loop to just pull straight up on that connector to release it. Alright, so we can go ahead and just disconnect these anyway, since we're going to be removing the motherboard. Alright, so once you have those connectors out, we'll go ahead and remove those screws. All right, we have the heatsink nice and exposed, so we can go ahead and remove that as well. The numbers that are stamped on the heatsink are for reassembly. In case you are installing another heatsink, it allows the thermal paste to kind of spread evenly when you're tightening down the screws. But on removal, you don't have to worry about it. Take them out in any order. And it's just held on by a little bit of adhesive tape on that one end. Alright, so the motherboard is nice and exposed, and we'll just finish removing the ribbons. And we can also remove this in-out board as well. Just one screw, and then just flip up on that type of connector. And then pull that adhesive off for the ribbon, and there's the in-out board. So some of these little retainers you flip up before pulling out the ribbon. Some of them you just pull straight out. If it has the long different colored bar along the top of the connector, it's usually the type that you flip up. So this pram battery also needs to go with the motherboard, so we're going to go ahead and release that from the adhesive that's holding it in. So you'll want a flat tool just so you can get in there, and then we're going to feed it underneath the speaker wire. So definitely leave that pram battery connected to the motherboard, and it looks like we're ready to remove the last screws. Alright, once you think you have everything disconnected, just gently lift up on one side of that motherboard and give it a wiggle, and then gently turn it over. Make sure there's no ribbons on the bottom side, and then you can remove the motherboard. Alright, so we have our keyboard. It's riveted into the palm rest, so it is not removable, and speakers are just a couple grommets. And then for the touchpad, it looks like it's replaceable with just a couple of Phillips screws to take off. Alright, now we can work on separating the palm rest assembly from the display assembly. So we're going to go ahead and open up the display all the way. And that will allow us to just lift it off once we have those hinge screws removed. And also retrieve the DC jack. Alright, so now we have those hinge screws removed. We can remove the display assembly and also remove that DC jack. Alright, so we are left with a complete display assembly. This particular model and the Flex 5 is similar. There's a couple small screws here underneath the little cover that need to be taken out before you can remove the back cover from the bezel. And The front bezel, it's just a rectangle, and if you want to remove it, to get it started, you're just going to use a flat tool and work your way around the edge here where the rubber is, all the way around. A word of caution though is the Flex 5 has a really strong adhesive on the back cover directly applied to the screen. So if, a lot of times if you're trying to separate the back cover from the front screen and digitizer assembly, it is not fun, and what will usually happen is you'll break the plexiglass on the front. So I would highly recommend that if you need to replace your screen, that you just buy a full screen assembly. Otherwise, I mean, you could probably get it done with a heat gun and being real careful and take a couple hours to do it, but the best way definitely on this particular model is to just buy that full assembly, because yeah, these are very, very hard to take apart without breaking anything, just with the sheer amount of adhesive that they use. So that is how you disassemble most of a Lenovo Flex 4. This particular model was the 1480. If you found this video informative or you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much and have a great day.